What if events had unfolded differently in Sam Raimi's Spider-Man? Imagine if Peter Parker and Harry Osborn got bit by the spider. Now, what do you think would have happened? Well, welcome back, my fellow watchers of the multiverse, to part 4 of this insane, crazy series where we're going to be diving into what if Peter Parker and Harry Osborn got bit by the spider and Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, and we're kind of still on Spider-Man 2. We ended with another cliffhanger in the previous episode, and I do want to say, make sure to check out part 3 if you haven't already, as well as part 2 and part 1, because you're not going to be caught up to what is going on, and this is a key episode, and I just cannot wait to, record this, get it done. It makes me super happy, and again, I cannot thank you enough for the support. I do want to say, make sure to check out my Instagram as well as the Patreon for exclusive behind-the-scenes content, but you really get a lot more on Patreon. You can actually request a video, and you can get me to make a what if that you want to do. It's on a tier list on the Patreon, but I would highly recommend that you check those links in the description. But my fellow watchers, let's continue by manipulating the multiverse and seeing what would have happened. Well, everything was going according to plan for Norman. After making Peter forget his identity, he used his influence to turn the media against him. Norman went directly to the Daily Bugle, and after that, he went after the other media houses. J. Jonah Jameson was very delighted to have him, as he loved the information Norman brought. Norman stated that Spider-Man was the one who caused the birth of Dr. Octopus. Norman also alleged certain recent destructions that he had done as the Green Goblin on Spider-Man. The citizens were skeptical at first, as they knew that Spidey to be a hero and not a villain. In their hearts, even J. Jonah Jameson had been damaging the reputation of Spider-Man. Norman knew that it would take a lot of convincing for the people that Spider-Man was a villain, and he already had that sorted out. Norman wanted to make Spider-Man an exile in his own city. He knew that the effects of the serum he injected in Spider-Man, even though it was very efficient, it was not permanent. Norman wanted to utilize his time and ensure that once Peter was back to his normal self, he would have no other option but to join him. Norman also knew that his son would also join forces with him, as his plan was simple. Norman's plan was to open Harry's eyes to see that the people of the city did not even appreciate or recognize his contributions to their welfare. Norman knew that this would completely destabilize Harry, and he would quickly join forces with him. Harry had already caught on to what Norman was doing, and he had confronted him. Norman just shrugged it off and said that he did it for the greater good. Harry was heartbroken as he told Norman, his father, that he had betrayed his trust for the second time. Norman had shown sympathy, but once Harry had stormed out of the house, his sober face had quickly morphed into a demented grin as the Green Goblin cackled and rolled into his study chair. Norman decided that tomorrow would be the day that he would carry out his plans, and it must be perfect, the Green Goblin told himself through a mirror. The plan was formulated when some citizens still refused to see Peter as a hero. Norman had a trump card in his arsenal, and he knew that if he carried it out, Spider-Man would be forever hated. Location: the city of New York, 3:08 p.m. Norman was on top of a billboard, and he was dressed in a Spider-Man suit. This was his trump card. Norman would go and commit crimes while wearing a Spider-Man suit. Norman had created the suit by himself, and he knew that Harry would not have the heart to stop him. There was nothing that could make his plan go wrong. Norman went about destroying businesses and robbing innocent civilians, and even fighting against the police as he destroyed 2 of their cars. Norman ensured that he desecrated the image of Spider-Man in the city. In the end, he went to the Daily Bugle and ensured that the cameras were filming him. He told J. Jonah Jameson that he was tired of pretending. He told J. Jonah Jameson that he was behind the Green Goblin. He stated that it was all a ploy to get him accepted as a hero by the city. J. Jonah Jameson was having a field day, as he thought that the real Spider-Man was confirming all of his conspiracy theories. Norman, who was impersonating Spider-Man, went on to say that when it did not work, and the police and some people of the city still hated him and did not trust him, he went on to create Dr. Octopus. My plan was that if people of the city had a new villain, they would run to me. They would finally love me, Norman stated. J. Jonah Jameson was quivering with excitement, as he had stated the same thing when Dr. Octopus emerged. He had stated that Dr. Octopus was a partner in crime with Spider-Man. Norman then stated that he was tired of pretending to be a hero, that he had decided to reveal his true colors. With that, he shot a web and swung away. Norman had created a Spider-Man suit, and he also designed a web shooter during his time. The Green Goblin also had been busy implementing plans into his head on how to destroy Spider-Man and the Silver Spider, and get them to destroy each other. Doc Ock's emergence was the perfect time to start implementing their plans, and they were glad that it happened. Once Norman was out of sight from the civilians of the city and the police who were in hot pursuit of him, he ditched the suit and destroyed it. "I won't be needing this again," Norman said, as he laughed. Norman quickly suited up, as he had been able to comprise his whole suit and glider into a wristband. The suit immediately covered him with nanotechnology, and he flew away to his apartment, while cackling with joy, as his plan had gone well, without any interruptions. Location: Harry's apartment. Time: 7:31 p.m. Harry was in a dilemma, as he did not know what to do. Peter had truly lost his memory of him being Spider-Man, and all Harry's efforts to get him back to normal had failed. When Harry saw the news of Spider-Man going about destroying the city, he immediately knew that it was his father, but there was nothing he could do. Harry decided that if he went as Silver Spider, it would only make things worse, as the people would have no doubt that Norman was the real Spider-Man. Harry did not know what to do again, as even Peter was not in a good state emotionally. Mary Jane had broken up with him because of his failure to attend her performance. She stated that it was the last straw, and the only reason she could never get back with him was if he came clean. Harry had always been jealous of Peter having Mary Jane, but the breakup reduced Peter to such a state that he could only feel sympathy. Peter stated that he could not stay in his apartment, as it reminded him too much of Mary Jane. Harry had opened his doors to him, and Peter accepted, as he needed a familiar and close face to comfort him. It was during this period that Harry had been conducting tests on him. After a short while, Peter decided that he had to go back to Uncle Ben and Aunt May, as he had not seen them for some time. He also stated that it would help him heal. Harry also suspected that his tests were becoming too cumbersome on Peter, who had no idea what Harry was trying to achieve with the outrageous views that he was Spider-Man. Harry just stared at his silver spider suit as he contemplated his next action. He was still beating himself up, as he had fallen for Norman's trap. He had believed that his father was back and the Green Goblin was gone. How could I have been such a fool? Harry asked himself as he reasoned the whole matter. He decided that he had to go and visit his father and ask him to stand down and give him the antidote to cure Peter. Even though the Green Goblin was back, Harry believed that there was still an atom of love and humanity remaining in his father. With that decision, Harry quickly went and dressed up in order to meet his father. Doc Ock's lair. Time: 6:27 p.m. Norman was in very high hopes. He had just concluded a meeting that was sure to bring good results and end all his troubles and worries for Peter, once and for all. The Green Goblin had decided that Peter might still pose a problem in the future, so they decided that they should be disposed of. Norman had contacted Doc Ock, and he had told him the true identity of Spider-Man. The serum that Norman infected in Peter also had a tracking beacon, and he presented it to Dr. Octopus. He told him that Peter had to be eliminated, as he was Spider-Man. Doc Ock was still reluctant, as his mind remembered Peter vaguely, and there were still some fond memories. Norman had to put more effort into convincing Doc Ock that Peter was Spider-Man, and he would oppose his plans to complete his experiment. The tentacles quickly kicked in and influenced his mind. They told him that anybody that wanted to stand in their way of vengeance was a threat and needed to be eliminated. Doc Ock then collected the tracking device from Norman and went on his way, as he had decided that Peter must be destroyed. Norman then quickly flew on his glider from the lair to his apartment, as he did not want Harry to discover the new lair of Otto. Once he got home, he discovered that Harry was already waiting for him. "What a pleasant surprise," Norman said to Harry, who did not bulge. Harry's expression was that of anger, but he could not bring himself to beat his father, even though his fists were tightened and quivering as they were eager to punch. "How could you?" Harry screamed at his dad. Norman just found the whole scene amusing, and he casually strolled to his wine cellar and filled himself a cup. He asked Harry if he wanted a glass, but he remained still. "I asked you a question," Harry said menacingly. Norman sized up his son as he took a sip of wine from his glass. He told Harry that everything he was doing was for him. He told Harry that his offer was still open, that he wanted him by his side. "Together, we can rule the world," Norman stated. Harry stated that he was not interested in that type of thing, that he preferred his current life, as he was working in the background. Norman laughed at this, as he told Harry that it was all a lie. "I know you are very jealous of Parker. I've seen the way that you look at him. You did not hang up your suit because you do not feel that the superhero thing was not for you. You did it because you knew that you could never measure up to Peter's standard," Norman commonly stated. Harry shouted at Norman to stop talking, but he just smiled as he knew that he had gotten to Harry. He had hit a nerve, the right nerve. Norman told Harry to stop pretending that he also wanted Peter dead as much as him. Harry asked him what he was talking about in confusion. Norman stated that Harry had already betrayed Peter long ago. Norman told Harry that he already saw when he was packing the serum to poison Peter, but he did, as if he did not notice. He also told Harry that if he had wanted to, could have stopped him from injecting Peter with the serum. Harry quickly defended himself by stating that he was occupied with Doc Ock. Norman snorted at this and told Harry that he could have easily shot a web to stop the process. This seemed to shut up Harry, as he knew that Norman was saying the truth. He had noticed when Norman was about to inject Peter with the serum, but he had done nothing. Harry had the chance to shoot a web, or even quickly swing to aid Peter, but he didn't even try. A dark, jealous part of him actually wanted it to happen. Norman saw that all what he was saying was getting to Harry, and he decided to add his final argument, as he was sure to break and make him realize his true nature. "You say that you are not jealous of Parker, that you don't want to destroy him. Then why have you not cured him?" Norman asked Harry with a smirk on his face. Harry told Norman that he did not know what he was talking about. Norman snapped at him angrily and told him to stop pretending. He told Harry that he could have cured Peter since, but he refused to. Harry told him that he could not cure Peter, that the reason he came to visit Norman was for the antidote. "Stop giving me nonsense." Norman snapped at Harry. "My serum is complicated to crack, and to get an antidote will be difficult. You know how to make an antidote, but you do not want to," Norman told Harry. "You just wanted to have the mirage of self-justification by coming to ask me when you know very well that I would not give it to you," Norman said, as he threw the antidote of the serum of Harry. "Take it. Go and cure him. Prove to me that I'm not lying," Norman said. Harry could not even look at the antidote, talk more of picking it. Harry was now on his knees in tears as he knew that everything Norman was saying was true. He could have had an antidote for Peter, but in his dark satisfaction of seeing him clueless, he was also glad when MJ broke up with him. Harry had betrayed Peter and their oath of being brothers. They had promised not to hurt each other, and Harry had broken that promise. He felt disgusted at himself as he felt tremendous guilt. Norman just looked at Harry with disgust and pity, as he did not have the heart and mind to do what he truly wanted and desired. The Green Goblin then decided that it was the right time to strike, as Norman went down on his knees to hug Harry. He talked to him in a comforting and soothing voice. He told Harry not to worry, as he had already taken care of their problem. Harry immediately stopped crying and asked Norman what he meant by that. Norman then told Harry what had transpired between him and Dr. Octopus. He told Harry that even as they spoke, that Doc Ock was on his way to kill and end Peter once and for all. Immediately Harry heard this. He instantly pushed Norman away from him. He knew that he was jealous of Peter and that he had betrayed him, but he could not let this great tragedy befall of him. It was as if scales fell from his eyes and his reasoning. Harry decided that Peter's friendship was much better than having anything to do with his father. Harry immediately took the serum from the floor and left Norman's apartment, as he decided that he had to go and save Peter. Harry decided that in order to do this, he had to become the Silver Spider once again. Meanwhile, Norman was still at his apartment, burning with rage as his plan had gone sideways. The Green Goblin decided that no matter what, Peter would be destroyed, and he immediately got into work. Location: the train station, 8:23 p.m., nighttime. Peter was tired of his life. He had left Harry's apartment in order to get back and visit Aunt May and Uncle Ben, as he needed familiar faces around him that would not conduct multiple unnecessary tests on him and tell him that he was Spider-Man. Peter's grades had also been slipping. His job at the Daily Bugle was pretty much non-existent, as he didn't even remember how he got the pictures of Spider-Man in the first place. Peter did not even want to get started on Mary Jane Watson. Parker just brushed all the thoughts away from his mind, as he decided that once he got home, everything would be okay. He had not gone straight home from Harry's apartment, as he needed to go to his own house to get some things. Immediately, Peter had done that. He went to the train station to board a train to get home. It is not as if anything could go wrong again, Peter said to himself, as he believed that he was at rock bottom, and the only way he could go was up. Peter was very wrong. During the train ride, Peter and the other passengers were jolted from their thoughts by a heavy metallic thud on the roof. Before they knew what was happening, metallic tentacles pierced the roof and ripped it off. Within seconds, they were all staring at the faces of Doc Ock. Dr. Octopus and his tentacles quickly scanned the passengers for Peter Parker. Once he saw him, they lashed out and tried to grab him, but they came up short. As if it was on reflex, Peter had somersaulted from his seat to another 7 feet from where he was. Peter was quite surprised at this feat, as he did not recognize this as his spidey sense and super reflex in action. The effects of Norman's serum had started wearing out. Ock saw it as a confirmation of what Norman told him. So, it is true, Ock told Peter, as he had no doubts again that he was Spider-Man. Peter did not have a clue about what Doc Ock was saying, as he was scared out of his mind. As he opened his mouth to ask what the problem was, Ock's tentacles lashed out, and Parker tried to avoid them, but he was too slow, as his powers had not completely returned. Peter got smashed into the next compartment of the train. Ock swiftly followed, as he did not want his prey to go away. He decided that after this, he would quickly commence his experiment and destroy the city. Peter was still crawling on the floor and struggling to get up, but he was greatly injured and weak. Dr. Octopus quickly morphed one of his tentacles into a sharp edge and decided to destroy Peter quickly. Ock swiftly brought down the tentacle as he aimed it at Peter's heart, but he was stopped. Harry, all suited up as Silver Spider, held the tentacle a few inches from Peter's chest. Harry was physically grunting at this moment, at the amount of strength he was putting into his effort, as Ock increased his output. Silver Spider then decided that he could not win a fight of strength with Doc Ock, and he decided to end the fight as soon as possible. He quickly thought of what to do, and his body followed through. Harry quickly maximized his grip on Ock's tentacle, and then swung him towards the other side of the train. Fortunately, no passengers there were injured, and as Harry thought, the side of the train compartment gave way, and Ock was thrown outside of the speeding train. Harry heaved a sign of relief as he immediately injected the antidote he had gotten from his father into a still shocked Peter. In the presence of the other terrified passengers, everything would be fine now, Harry told himself, as he examined the amount of damage on the train. At least he had gotten rid of Ock, Harry said in his head. But he was wrong, as Dr. Octopus was thrown out of the train. His tentacles, which had a mind of their own, attached themselves to the other compartment at the back of the train and saved their father. They were just catching their breath and getting over the shock. Soon, they would attack again. Meanwhile, Peter had started getting back his memories as they flooded through. His dreams now made sense to him, and he remembered that he really was Spider-Man. Once he got back all of his memories, he hugged Harry, but the latter pushed him away. Harry told him everything. Harry told Peter that he had betrayed him, that he was not worthy of being called his friend, of being called his brother. He told Peter that he had always been jealous of him, and that was why he did it. Peter heard everything that Harry had told him, but he still went on to hug him. He told Harry that in the end, he had come back for him. Even though Harry had missed his way in the beginning, he had come back to save him, and that was all that mattered. Peter also told Harry that he was too jealous of him in multiple areas of his life, and that took Harry aback as he never thought he had anything Peter could be jealous of. Peter then told Harry that he forgave him. Harry teared up as he realized that Peter had truly forgiven him in an instant because they were brothers. At that moment, Harry decided that he would destroy every tie that he had with his father, the Green Goblin. Norman was watching from the sky on top of his glider, and what he was seeing repulsed him. His entire plan had failed. Even though Ock was not yet out, Norman decided that he had to take no chances. The Green Goblin flew past the train on his glider, and he used his pumpkin bombs to destroy the rail tracks. The Green Goblin did it on the bridge side, so that it made the rail tracks cave into a deep fissure. Nobody could survive a crash like that, the Green Goblin concluded, as the glider flew away in the sky, sacrificed that the job had been done. Peter and Harry's reunion was cut short as they discovered that the train rail tracks had been destroyed. If they did not do something fast, the train and all of its passengers would be destroyed. They started hoarding all of the passengers and the train attendants, including its driver, to the last two components of the train. Peter and Harry planned to detach it so it would not follow the rest of the train and become destroyed. As they proceeded with their plan, Doc Ock re-emerged, as he wanted to grab Silver Spider, but Peter quickly saved him. He told Harry to carry on, that he would take care of Ock. Peter still believed that there was still some humanity left in Otto, and he was willing to bet his life on it. He was just dodging his tentacles, as he was begging him to come back to his senses. Otto did not relent in his attacks, and within moments, he had his tentacles wrapped around Peter's neck, even as another one was aimed at his heart, poised to strike. They were currently a few feet away from crashing into a huge hole that Green Goblin blasted. "Remember your wife, Professor Octavius," Peter pleaded as a last effort. She would not have wanted this. This statement gave Ock mind freedom from the tentacles temporarily, and he suddenly realized all he had done. "What have I done?" Dr. Octavius said. He immediately looked and saw that the train was currently heading towards destruction. In a last effort of redemption, Dr. Octavius grabbed Peter with his tentacle and threw him towards the last two components that Harry had already detached. Dr. Octopus went down with the train as he wept for a moment of the atrocities he had committed. His last thought, and only source of comfort, was that he and his wife would reunite once again. The train and Dr. Octopus were destroyed, but thankfully, no civilians were harmed, even though Peter was emotionally hurt. Location, the field. Time, 8:07 p.m. The Green Goblin was furious. His plans had fallen flat. As he trashed his study, his tracking device quickly indicated that a meteor was heading towards their city. His interest was immediately pinged, as the readings he was getting was an alien object, which was very interesting and strange. Within moments, the Green Goblin was already at the scene of the meteor which had landed. He discovered it to be black goo, and it looked alive. Norman carefully picked up the black goo, and he was fascinated by it. "This should get interesting," Green Goblin said, as he laughed manically. And that is going to be it, part 4, my fellow watchers, to What If Peter Parker and Harry Osborn Got Bit by the Spider? Now, what did you think of that ending with Green Goblin finally obtaining the symbiote? Now, it was teased. I will tell you that right now. It was teased in the thumbnails. It was teased in the promotional stuff that I did, on Instagram and on the Patreon, but it is finally here. We're going to be seeing the Green Goblin in part 5, the final part to this mega storyline where Peter and Harry are gonna, they're in for trouble because they ganged up on Green Goblin on part 2, and they literally beat the hell out of him. So Green Goblin's gonna get his revenge, and I can tell you right now, it's not gonna be good for Harry or Peter. But what did you think of this episode? Part 4 was very intense. It was interesting. We still have the fusion reactor. We still have that little part to fill in. So, I think things were very different in the Spider-Man 2, but, we're spilling into Spider-Man 3. The Silver Spider and Spider-Man have returned, and it's only a matter of time until, something happens, and I don't know what that is, as we continue manipulating the multiverse. But thank you so much for watching, and I cannot wait to get into, the next episode, the finale. It's going to be coming soon. I do want to say that do make sure to subscribe, like, shares. It really goes a long way, because only, 8% of you are subscribed to the channel. And so when you subscribe and view the videos, it really goes a long way into, getting promoted, and it just really helps, get these videos out there to as many Spider-Man and Marvel fans as possible, as well as other fans. But again, thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care and have an amazing day. Peace out.